Over several weeks, we've seen a pattern from Blah Bluff High School, Blah Bluff School District into the COVID cases. But there's something new. Let's take a look at COVID. Let's take a look at the COVID wrap up here. In Texas, there's over 6,000 new cases, with 65 new deaths. In Oasis County, 85 new cases, no new deaths. Since the 15th, only 2.2% people have been positive, over 7,000 tests, and over 17K positive since And since the 21st, 16K people have been hospitalized, and over 31 people are in ICU. Since Friday, over 17.5 million have been fully vaccinated, and 20.8 million people have had at least one dose. As for the schools, well, Thursday there was only one positive case in the high school. Others were 0. Today, 0. We're seeing a pattern here that could basically let people know that this isn't a real joke. But if you were to look at it from a different case scenario, you would actually find that there always been a pattern. But we're approaching to the end of March in weeks, and incidentally, if we see another case, then we'll report it. But throughout the rest of this month, there's been three cases in Flower and FBHS, and probably 0 for the rest. So what we need to do is to make sure that we're doing whatever we can and making sure we get ourselves vaccinated before before we start going back to square one. We don't need to be doing that. If we go back to square one, things are going to then we might have to end up going back to March 2020. Square one would mean March 2020. We can't be doing that. Which brings us to some good news. In New York, they lifted its vaccine rules for athletics and performers. So let's take a look.
Well, let's turn now to the COVID pandemic. The mayor of New York City today gave a special vaccine exemption to professional athletes and entertainers. And many New Yorkers are not happy about it. We get more now from CBS's Mo Olengi.
Unvaccinated pro athletes like Brooklyn Nets superstar Kyrie Irving can now play at home in New York City.
We're part of a financial ecosystem.
Mayor Eric Adams announced the rule change just weeks before the start of the NBA playoffs and baseball's opening day.
We're talking about a small number of people that's having a major impact on our economy.
Some critics call it the Kyrie carve-out, frustrating city workers who are still required to be vaccinated. The city's police union released a statement saying if the mandate isn't necessary for famous people, then it's not necessary for the cops who are protecting our city. Meanwhile, the heads of the largest U.S. airlines are asking President Biden to drop the mask requirements on planes set to expire April 18th, citing now outdated regulations implemented in response to COVID-19.
If the mandates are lifted, I wouldn't be wearing a mask on a flight at all. I feel pretty safe on a flight without wearing a mask.
Well, Kyrie Irving could make his return here to the Barclays Center by this weekend. Meanwhile, the uneven application of the vaccine mandate could invite even more lawsuits against New York City, where just last month, more than 1,400 city employees were fired for being unvaccinated, Nora.
You can see why people are upset. Mo Olengi, thank you.
That's why people are upset. That's the reason why people are upset, because famous people don't have to be vaccinated. It doesn't matter. If you're famous, popular, or if you're everyone's favorite, it doesn't matter. You still have to be vaccinated. I'm a famous singer in Flower Bluff, and I'm vaccinated, and I'm doing all right. Till the time, I don't care if you're famous, I don't care if you're popular, I don't care if everyone likes you, loves you. It doesn't matter. What matters is your health. Until then, masks, social distance, hand washing, sanitization, disinfection, transportation. You can make sure you follow those things. Quarantine, tests. If you have a medical condition, if you're under 2, don't wear them, because it's a violation of the ADA and probably for special needs. Just let them know beforehand so that we can all go back to normal. As for famous people, you don't get special treatment. If you're famous, you probably deserve special treatment. Not like this. Lawsuits can happen. The police will get angry. If this fight goes back to the Supreme Court, then it will. Probably won't even know. Later in my explosive rant to the Houston School District for not following the rules here, meaning what I talked about in my previous channel about an autistic child who was beaten by a student. That's a bit later. But first, when we come back, new details into Oxford. This time with new upgrades from the Oxford School District. Don't go away. Up front tonight, new details and steps that school district can take to improve security and safety. Now this comes after the Oxford shooting. There's now steps being taken to improve the safety. So what are those steps that people can take? Let's take a look.
Well, we begin this Friday afternoon with the urgent need to make our state schools safer. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Glenda Lewis.
And I'm Brian Abel. Lawmakers in Lansing working with police and mental health experts to tackle the issue. Today, a task force releasing its preliminary report. Some of the recommendations include third-party security, updating active shooter drills, and camera upgrades.
The report comes just months after the deadly shooting at Oxford High School took the lives of 4 students. The committee hoping its recommendations will prevent another tragedy from happening.
7 Action News reporter Simon Shaquette in Oxford with reaction from parents.
Lockdown kits and independent threat assessments are just 2 of the measures state lawmakers are proposing to make schools safer in Michigan. And those steps are already getting the attention of parents here in Oxford. As a parent of an Oxford school student, Jennifer Prather is keeping close watch over recommended actions for schools to improve safety. And in the wake of the deadly Oxford High School shooting tragedy, she believes politics must be put aside to protect students and staff. What are your thoughts on having third parties come into schools in Michigan and do assessments of threats?
Yeah, I think third parties are an excellent idea. They should do it for the entire state and get everybody on the same page. Don't have it be a patchwork of recommendations, something different for the UP and than it is downstate or whatnot.
This preliminary document obtained by 7 Action News highlights numerous initiatives under review by a bipartisan State House committee consulting with law enforcement and the community. Proposed steps include more funding for health centers, camera upgrades, including OK to Say info on student ID cards, updating active shooter drills, school floor plan maps, and better statewide info sharing.
Some really innovative things happening with mapping to make sure that when law enforcement are alerted of a active shooter, that response is efficient.
Bills already drafted include measures for ongoing training for staff members and resource officers and the creation of more mental health services. Steps lawmakers say they are pursuing with more urgency than ever.
We've taken every idea, put it into one of these buckets, and we are working our way through them.
Ideally, how soon do you see some of these proposals actually being implemented?
I see some of these things getting through in the next budget.
For Jennifer, there's a sense of frustration after prior proposed changes dating back years were never implemented. She hopes now is the time when all stakeholders can come together and and address this issue of safe gun storage.
I really would have liked to see a secure storage measure, something that would be handed out to the parents.
The school safety committee has been meeting consistently a couple times a week for the past several months. They tell us more meetings need to take place before a final report is drafted. From Oxford, Simon Shaquette, 7 Action News.
And anyone can submit a tip about a potential threat at a Michigan school through OK to Say. You can download the app or go to michigan.gov/OK to Say.
And like you said, new measures need to be taken, more active shooter drills. That brings us to our safety break. Those lockdown drills. If you were in school like I was, you may have heard about those lockdown drills. What are those what do I mean by lockdown drills? Well, basically what I mean by that is an announcement comes on saying we're now in lockdown. You need to move over to the one side of the building, this and that, the other. You have to stay there. Stay on one side of the wall. Doors locked, curtains closed. And making sure that you don't talk. So to give you more meaning, here's a clip.
The rider's controversial because it wouldn't pass on its own, and it's attached to a very popular bill. What's 14 students? No, it's not. Oh, yeah. Well, it'll be in there, but yeah. Did you guys hear that? Hey, call 911, Bolton, and hit the blinds right here. Get to the back wall. Let's go get to the back wall. Miss Munster, we have a intruder in the building. Okay, the shots were just fired.
Please pardon the interruption. At this time, we are going to ask that students and staff proceed to conduct an internal lockdown. I repeat, this is not a drill. Please proceed to internal lockdown. 911 has been called. Remain in internal lockdown until instructed otherwise by a uniformed officer.
Okay, guys, I need everybody right away. Back corner and down, please. No cell phones?
Get as close to the wall as you can. Crowd it together. Marcus, get this way. Get this way. Get away from the window. Davis, hurry up. Get away from the window. Press up to these desks. Hurry up. Guys, grab these desks.
Police, everything's okay. Police, everything's okay. Police, everything's okay. Hello, police, everything's okay.
Now that clip is done, when we come back, we're going to review the lockdown procedures and give you an event of an internal lockdown. Please stay with us and don't go away. If you join us or just join us, we're focusing on lockdown drills. You know those ones we have to stand in the corner? You may hate those, but it could someday save your life. Now, we've just seen a clip from Shoreline Broadcast News, which was published October 22nd, 2014, which is probably close to 10 years ago, giving us a good example of this. So what can be done? Well, you have to turn lock the doors and hide, turn off the lights, open the window shades, no electronic devices, period. No cell phones, no iPods, no MP3s, no laptops, no Chromebooks, none. If a shooter sees you doing that, bang! And you have to remain quiet until released by police. No peep, no beep, no bleep, no whack. None of that. Remain quiet. Let's also review it let's give you the reason why it happens. The purpose of the lockdown drill is to protect the children and adults in the building from potential emergencies such as the presence of a school shooter, as with fire drills and other safety programs. The hope to acclimate students and teachers is to a procedure that they will be able to follow quickly, effectively, and safely. The planning for this, evacuation drills are designed to prepare students and teachers. The lockdown drills include halls and reports to the nearest available classroom where they can hide and stay as silent as possible. So what are the procedures? Doors of classrooms will be locked. Move to the safest part of the room away from the windows and the doors to the interior wall. So this window right behind me, if there was a lockdown drill, I would have to be farther away from this. Not here, not there, but I would be right there. Everyone drop to the floor, out of the line of vision. Everyone drops to the floor or out of the line of vision from the door. Shades are pulled down. Any windows and doors that are covered, to prevent an intruder from seeing the classroom, and the classroom needs to be turned off. The whole planning for this drill, if it's not a drill, it's a real deal. You have to make sure that you don't listen to me. When I did these lockdown drills, we had to be as quiet as possible. I never went to the bathroom. I was in the classroom. And if I was in the bathroom, I'd be asked to stay there. The whole reason that is because you're under a lockdown drill. And like the fire drills, you have to stand in line and wait for a teacher to just hold up a green sign saying all students are accountable. Which brings us to the fire drills. Actually, that's another video. But the only reason I'm covering this right now is because of what we talked about earlier. Earlier yesterday, they're planning to have a bill sponsored to help make sure this stuff doesn't happen again. New cameras, new lockdown, shooter drills, active shooter drills, that everybody needs to learn so that this doesn't happen again, and we can all go to school safely. But at any time it's not going to happen because a lot of these things happen. What is the cause for all this? Look right there. All this. There, and there. Those are the things that caused the school shooting. Now, you may be going on a limb here and say, that is outrageous. It is a fact. Look at Ethan Crumley. He quoted a video game. He played Dylan and Eric. They played Doom and they shot up Columbine. Look at the guy who played Grand Theft Auto Vice City back in 2003. He acted out a scenario from that game. Busted him out of jail, killed a police officer. He was in jail. Now little kids are buying that game. Like we talked about years ago. Years ago, we talked about violence in our video games. Running from E all the way to M mature. The right game for your child to play is an E-rated game. Under 13. If your child's under 13, like I said, you need to have them play an E game. Sports games, game shows. When they move up to 10, it's E10 and up. You might be thinking, I didn't know there was an E10. I thought any E game was suitable. Well, that's true. But it's what the Entertainment System Rating Board, the ESRB, dictates. They look at the game and then they give it the ratings. Now we're focused on E and T. E and E10. The T, that's the teen. Minimum blood, violence, mild language, and stuff like that. Then we went up to M. M for mature. A game not found in anyone's houses. Under 18. And we have laws that prohibit a lot of people from selling it to minors. Which is a really great point to try to understand. The bottom line is, your parents, know what your kids are playing. Don't give them something that they'll do and say, okay, I'll give you this if you promise not to act it out. And in the coming week, a week ahead, I'm going to show you a clip from Super Nanny from the Tavoy family, which they allow their kids to play video games from a neighbor's house and have the rating system under with T and M. Wait till you hear the reaction. Well, coming up next, there is a big problem going on here in the Coastal Bend, and that is illegal game rooms. Bill Churchwell looks into a raid that just happened. That happened earlier this week, and gives us the very latest after this. There's concern here in the Coastal Bend about those illegal game rooms. You know those ones with bingo in it? The CCPD claims they have they started selling illegal stuff there, like illegal bingo games. Well, on Wednesday there was a raid, and now the police has found a lot of evidence. So, what was the evidence then? Here's Bill Churchwell.
Is our top story tonight.
Here's Bill Churchwell.
The raid at the Sweetwater Club landing 4 people in handcuffs. Among the items seized, gambling equipment, 2 vehicles, cash, and what authorities say was other evidence of illegal gambling.
Well, we're hoping it sends a very clear message that if you're engaging in illegal gambling in these game rooms, which we realize there's plenty of it going on, they cease and desist.
Assistant Chief Todd Green with CCPD says the department's Narcotics and Vice Division served the warrant Wednesday following their investigation, and it all began with a tip that illegal gambling was going on inside.
Just the fact that you open a game room doesn't make it illegal. What makes it illegal is when you start paying out cash money for rewards.
The police department working on this latest case in conjunction with the Nueces County District Attorney's Office. Among those on the scene was the Assistant District Attorney.
There were a lot of patrons that received warning citations, but we just want to send a message that we're coming, and the landowners, the owners of these businesses and lots that are renting or leasing to these facilities, we're coming for them too.
It's not as innocent as it may seem to the customer that goes in there and just wants to, enjoy themselves for a short period of time.
Chief Green says there could be at least 100 active game rooms in the city and surrounding area. However, there's no exact count because right now there is no ordinance or law requiring these types of establishments to register with the city or county.
Why should we go after people that are minding their business? And if they want to go blow their money on a machine, why should we worry about it? There is criminal activity, a lot of criminal activity going on behind the scenes that people don't see.
So what can be done? Last month, county commissioners discussed regulating game rooms to help stop illegal cash payouts and other criminal activity. But so far, nothing is set in stone. Until then, Chief Green says they will continue to do their part in going after these types of establishments if illegal activity is taking place. Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
All right, Bill, thank you. Now, we have learned that 3 of the 4 people arrested in yesterday's raid were also charged with unlawfully carrying a weapon. This after officers discovered they were all armed with handguns during the commission of another crime.
That's where we're going to stop. This is the beginning of a Give Me a Break investigation into game rooms doing illegal gambling, and why the department here is not doing its best. So far, we looked at one who had illegal gambling machines, but there are 2 game rooms here in Flower Bluff. One across the street from the police station and one at SPID. This investigation is continuing. I'm gonna look into this probably tomorrow, and I will give you more details. If not, we'll look into it next week. Well, but there is new evidence, so let's take a look at the evidence that was presented from the game room. Those evidence could be a lead here. And before we continue, I should let you know, gambling is illegal in the state of Texas. Period. And every game should follow this law. And no one cares.
During a raid at an area game room. This was a scene at Sweetwater Club. The Oasis County District Attorney's Office was out in support of the Corpus Christi Police Department's Vice Unit during a raid at an area game room. This was a scene at Sweetwater Club off of Alameda and Airline earlier today. The DA's office says that some arrests were made and some evidence from the game room collected. But for the most part, patrons at the club were given warning citations. They say they want to send a warning to landowners and operators. They are coming for them.
Game rooms are, they're a breeding ground for a lot of other criminal activity. It's not just the gambling and the cash payout that's the issue. It's other types of criminal activity that sometimes surround these. You've got money laundering, you've got drug use, you've got prostitution, you've got trafficking. Yes. There's a lot of other businesses that go hand in hand and other types of criminal activity that go hand in hand with these types of facilities.
That's First Assistant District Attorney Angelica Hernandez, and she says that she believes within Corpus Christi and in other surrounding community areas, there are at least 100 game rooms.
Agreed. So this investigation is continuing looking into these game rooms. I'm looking into 2. One from across the street in Flower Bluff. In Flower Bluff, there was one across the street right from the police station, and then there's another one on SPID. Still in the Bluff. I will be going undercover. No hidden cameras. Undercover. Audio taping this. And trying to get to the truth. Like the district attorney says, they already gave out warnings, but have they listened to those warnings? A Give Me a Break investigation is going to find out what goes on. And maybe then they'll take that message. This advice from the attorney and the police chief. So I said, this investigation is continuing. I will give you some results tomorrow, which is today, or I can give it to you next week. But if I don't give it to you tomorrow, then tomorrow we're moving on to more school threats and fire drill safety. Continue our safety break, and if I get back with the results, we'll report the results tomorrow, which is today, and we'll move the fire drill thing to next week. So until then, that's all of this edition of Give Me a Break Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again tomorrow for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at Give Me a Break in YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the official Give Me a Break YouTube channel with likes, comments, subscriptions, post notifications turned on, and make sure you subscribe to my old channel, American Player, for all new covers and possibly future Give Me a Break episodes posted on my old channel. So, we'll see. Good night.